Hey, fun fact to start the episode. Did you know that life has a 100% mortality rate?
On that cheery note,
100% mortality rate disease
Amazing.
for now.
for now.
Oh, how we've missed you, Justin.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys notice how these intros have gotten really polished?
Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at designcuts.com. And this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert, Ian Barnard, American retro design expert, Dustin Lee, and the ever-talented South African illustrator, Lisa Glanz. This week we're talking about exactly how long it takes to get good at design. We all know the expression, practice makes perfect, but exactly how much practice and when can you qualify yourself as having mastered your craft? All this and more in today's episode. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So this week we're talking about how long it actually takes to learn and get good at stuff. I'm sure everyone listening has heard of the old adage that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. Dustin's putting his glasses on.
I look just like Ian, dude. We're brothers.
Splitting
I was like,
image. Splitting
why are there
image.
two of me? Yeah.
Wow. So yes, as I say, today, how long does it actually take to learn stuff? I'm trying to think actually, 10,000 hours.
That's a long time.
Well, we were talking and I was like, how could it be 10,000 hours? Like, what are the chances that it's going to be exactly 10,000 hours? Come on, that's like just a human number that's like just happens to be perfectly rounded 10,000. That's crazy. It's not that much, but more importantly, like anytime you hear that, you just get sad inside and you're like, well, I can never do this. You know, like I think about something I want to do. Oh, that will be 10,000 hours. I'm like, okay, so like what, like 6 years full time, whatever. Like how much for
It's true.
fine people like yourselves that are so good, does someone need to put in every day to see some good results without giving up their families and their lives?
It's actually not that much. So if you think about it, it's if you're doing something 10 hours a day, which most of us tend to with our work and so on. Maybe not you, Dustin. You're
Speak for
napping
yourself.
most of the
10
time.
hours,
Yeah.
10 hours a day.
That's all right. You're a bit ill in master of napping.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely a master of napping. So
You guys do 10 hours a day? That's insane.
that's a bad day for me. Kidding me?
Dude, your life is more than this. You can't
Yeah,
be
you need
spending
to
10
get out
hours doing
more,
that.
Tom.
Oh, says you, Lisa. You're locked in your attic for like 2 years, working 15 hours a day, illustrating, where your partner has to come and drag you out with a vice-like
True,
grip.
that's
You
true.
can't lecture
Oh
me.
my god.
You know, Ian's got the
fine.
balance right. 'Cause,
You
like,
win.
Ian's smiling. He always seems relaxed. He's literally got the door open in the office like he's about to leave. He's got it right.
Yeah, you're napping. Ian's chilling.
Yeah.
Lisa
Yeah.
and I are hypocritical
Yes.
little peas in a workaholic pod.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pair of us. Okay, but let's say it's 10 hours for all the hardworking people out there. That's only 1,000 days. And so
How
that would
many
only
is
be that would be like what, maybe 4 years, taking into account
Working every
weekends.
day for 4 years.
Well, and
Yeah,
two,
to become like a true master or
That
something.
sounds even worse.
most
than
people don't
10,000
have
hours.
10 hours a day to do this. They have jobs. Like, so if they want to learn lettering or they want to learn whatever, they're not spending 10 hours a day. They got the
Yeah, so if they're
evenings.
doing it on the side, it purportedly would take like 20, 25 years.
Right, which is crazy. It doesn't take that long. I've seen people do it so fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the whole thing about that whole philosophy of the 10,000 hours, I think where people are getting mixed up or getting it wrong, getting too excited about it, is the fact that they're forgetting that along that journey of learning in those 10,000 hours, you're doing stuff. You're progressing in your skill. Maybe you're getting a job or two doing it. I don't know, selling a painting or 10. You may not be like, the perfect artist. You haven't reached the 10,000 hour mark, but you're still enjoying your craft. It's
And
not
if
like
I've
you're
learned nothing from the show, right, until you hit that level of perfection, you should have zero self-worth. Is that correct?
No, but that's the thing. I think everybody's thinking like, okay, sure. So maybe day 1 you're terrible. Maybe day 30 you're not as terrible. And maybe after a year you're like, you look back and you go, wow, I've improved a lot. But that doesn't mean that you're not. What I'm saying is, like, we get so caught up in the end result, like we're spending too much time or too much energy thinking about this 10,000 hours end result, when in actual fact, along the way, you've like experienced a whole lot of amazing things doing this thing that you're learning.
Yeah.
Not
Just
so?
forget about the finish line and enjoy the race, man.
Exactly.
Maybe a better way to
it's so
ask
true,
this
though.
is for a day. Like, let's say, like, okay, I'm working on my cartooning. Sometimes I like to do it. Sometimes I think that it's a total waste of time. Sometimes I want to do lettering. I don't know what I want to do. Here's some stuff. Is it good?
Cool.
No, it's
For all
not
the-
super
Yes.
great.
For all the listeners, Dustin's showing some work.
It's from the product
Remember,
cover.
we're on radio, Dustin.
It's
You've
from the
gotta-
podcast cover. I'm sorry. I'm showing work. So I did my podcast cover. And these were like little guys I drew for it. But like, let's say I wanted to like maybe pursue this. I don't want to spend 8 hours a day. I got a business to run. Honestly, I don't want to draw cartoon characters 8 hours a day. I feel like life is more than that. How much time do I, like, Lisa, all you guys, if you were to pursue something new that you were a noob at, how many hours would you feel like you need to dedicate a day, and over how long before you would estimate you would be competent enough to get some traction?
Okay, but competent enough to get traction in what? Like, in other words, get jobs doing it, or
Well, like with like
It's-
these
the thing
cartoons,
is
like
that
how
I
long
suppose
before
that-
people start saying, "Whoa, Dustin, great job," and like the followers start to like speed up, and then like people are like, "How did you do that?"
What you're defining is a finite point, and you're never going to hit that exact point. Like, you might be growing by 2 followers a day or 5 or 6 or whatever. Like, unless you define it incredibly clearly, it still is this esoteric kind of vague future thing where you're never going to hit it. I get what you're saying,
yeah,
but
me too.
I don't think you'll ever get there. I think it's also worth considering focus learning. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tim Ferriss.
Yeah,
He did like 4-hour work week and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
he's kind of a master at picking up crafts very, very quickly by focusing his learning. There's other books in that area. There's like the first 20 hours, I think it's called,
yeah. I've heard,
where it's
yeah,
like
I heard
how to get better than 95% of people at a skill just by 20 hours of focusing on it.
that. Oh, okay, let's
like
say
that
that.
kind of thing, right?
Let's say
Yeah.
let's say that, because you're saying it's too ambiguous. Let's say that being better than 90% of people or 80% of people, let's say something like that, so we can make a definition of it, so we can
Yes,
discuss it.
okay.
Because I really don't want this to become, like you're saying, esoteric, where it's a journey. Like, I actually really want to try to figure out how many hours should I work on this.
That's more manageable, isn't it? Because that's something like 20 days, do an hour each day. That's something I could, pick
could
something
manage.
and do, even if, because what I was just thinking with the 10,000 hours, you could try and master something, and then all of a sudden you get to that 10,000 hours,
And you want
and
to
that
try
thing
something
that
else.
that thing you master has just been wiped out by a new bit of technology.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
AI
So you-
doing like better
Yeah,
calligraphy.
you
than
might be like
humans.
10,000 hours in PHP or another code, and then all of a sudden every website's not using PHP. So
That's
you're
true.
like, so what's the point of learning it?
Yep.
You do you know what I mean? So
Can I add the little clarity layer on here? Because you guys keep mentioning really good points. So I think what you're touching on there is you almost want to pour your effort into becoming a more well-rounded creative. Because if you go too hyper-focused, A, there's no clear end goal, but B, you need something that's indispensable. If you develop yourself as an overall creative, that's more powerful than just this very specific skill, which, like you say, that could fall out of fashion, that could become replaceable, whatever it might be. But if you're constantly investing in yourself as a creative, that stands more chance.
yeah, because like for instance, if you spent 10,000 hours doing traditional calligraphy will always be around, I think, and so that would be a worthwhile investment, because you would become like, it would just be, if you spend that long, it'd just be beautiful. But something that's technology based that can be superseded, is it worth really spending that allowance of time in case something does come along and wipes it out, and then it's redundant in all that time you spent in it? So I suppose you want to get to a level where you see just sort of get to a level and then continue to learning. So you're like, rather than doing a lump sum of 10,000 hours, you were doing, like you say, 100 hours, 10 hours, 100 hours, 20 hours, whatever that may be, and then seeing whether it's something that you're going to pursue.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, to go back to your example, Dustin. So you're particularly focusing on illustration, right?
Yeah.
I would say in your particular case, it would depend on what you would want to get good at, because as you know, illustration is such a vast topic. You could focus on doing body anatomy and get really good at character design, or you could focus more on, I don't know, quirky sort of illustrations and get good at like doing the stylized, work. I think if you sit down and actually start doing like tackle this project in a broad way, I think you're going to be overwhelmed, and I think it's going to take you longer than 10,000 hours, personally. I think if you rather focus, you say to me, I want to get really good at drawing people, then I would say like say you spend 20 hours just drawing people, anatomy, studying the anatomy of the body, studying hands, studying legs, studying the head, how it works. I would say definitely within 20 hours, you can look back and go, wow, look how much I've improved. But if you're going to just randomly kind of just go, okay, well, I want to spend 20 hours doing illustration, I'm not sure if you can measure it well enough. Yeah, I don't know.
You guys, we got to measure this. We got to measure this. This is called the 10,000 hours thing. We've got to measure
Dustin,
this.
I'll give you a couple of examples then. There's a guy I mentioned on the show before called Mike Boyd, and he does this, like how to learn anything quickly.
I was just about to say about him and
really
his
cool,
channel
right?
on YouTube. Yeah, because he just, and I think that's a really good example of how you can learn something. There's a level where you click and you've learned the basic, like he tries to kick flip and it takes him, however long. There's a difference between mastering it and just getting it. Once you've got it, and then you can decide what you can do with it, I suppose.
But it's focused. That's what I'm saying. It's a focused thing.
Like this guy, he tends to do like 4 to 8 hours to get this stuff down. So he will literally do it over and over and over again, keep failing until suddenly he gets it to a point where he can just do it repeatedly. And at the end it goes ding, and it's like, here's how long it took. So like here, and it will be very tangible. Like he does a wheelie, but rather than just do a wheelie for a second, he's like, I want to do a wheelie on a bike for 50 meters or something like that.
50 meters.
And so 50 meters. And he does it. And it's like, 6 hours or whatever to get it down. And he'd do it in 20-minute chunks. So it might take him a few weeks. But then he'd get it down and be like, right, ding, 6 hours. That's how long it took of focused practice to get this thing down. You can't do that with creativity in the same way, because you can't measurably say, okay, at this exact point, I go from crap to good. It's not in the same way. So the only way you can really quantify it is maybe, okay, my goal is I want to illustrate and I want to be good enough that I can work full time doing this, or that I can earn $500 a month on the side. The danger there is you're beholden to other people and them paying you and stepping up and this kind of third party stuff. But that would be one example of a tangible thing. It's like, if you're good enough to be a professional illustrator to do it full time, that could be your goal. And that's something you can work towards with focused practice.
And I think you're right. Like, you can't be beholden to somebody else for your goal, or else you can't control it. So you don't.
It gets mushy.
But okay, maybe this is a better way to do like a little round table of this, because this can be measured. So I'd love to hear from all you guys on this if you could. So Lisa, you mostly do illustrations, but like you've also done fonts, and like your fonts, like I bought your salt and pepper font.
You did?
Yeah, I did. It's like the only font I ever bought from you. Like, I don't buy fonts that much. But it's a really great font. So
It is?
well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, I guess ask Ian. I don't know.
You're just being
I
polite.
like it.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
but
Yeah.
that wasn't your main thing. And at
No.
some point you had to decide, I'm going to make a font and I'm going to do this hand lettered style that's really trendy. And I'm going to make that. So you had a day 0 or day 1, and you had a day
Yes.
when you had a font done in a program. And I'm assuming you started by having to draw letters, then you had to refine them, and then you had to know how to put them into a thing. How much time did you invest if you had to average it out over days? How many days did it take before you had a font file that you put up. Does that make sense?
There's a question. Yes, it does.
Like that's it, right? Like that's
okay.
a clear goal that doesn't require any outside things. You can put that in self-contained.
It is a clear goal, but I have to. This is where the other point I wanted to add. I know, Dustin. Sorry. The point I wanted to make is that along the way, though, I've learned stuff which I apply to that process. So if you want to just break down how long it took me to do salt and pepper, probably.
No, your first one. I don't know if that was your first one.
No, it wasn't my first one.
The first one you made into a font
was Pillow Book.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
So how long did that? Yeah. How long did it take from the time you decided to make one to the process?
Probably a month, like solid work.
Like 40 hours a week?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, that's great.
Probably because
there's your answer.
I'm writing this down.
160 hours.
Because I had to teach myself the app to make the font.
What app was that?
That was the main thing. It was Glyphs.
Okay.
Okay, so...
And you probably had to warm yourself up on lettering even though you had some experience, right? Like you probably had to play around with
things. Yeah, so now what I was going to say, the reason why maybe I learned the app a little faster because I was used to, learning apps from my other job. And, so it's like you're applying all the experiences that you collect along the way.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to quantify. It's like if you ask me, how long did it take you to become good at illustration? Well, firstly, I still think I've got so far to go. So, but I can say I'm much better than I was 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But the point is, you could literally say I've been drawing my whole life, which sounds like, oh my God, is that how long it's going to take me to be able to draw? But it's not. Yeah. It's like you applying small things along the way.
You do. And it's that thing as well where it takes you 15 minutes to do a logo and the client's like, that only took you 15 minutes. Why am I paying you $500?
Exactly.
It took me 15 minutes and 15 years worth of experience.
Exactly.
That old cliche.
Precisely. Yeah.
I get that point, but that's why we're talking about like, yes, you're right. We can always like keep breaking things apart and eventually it like falls apart into like this nebulous thing. But like we just established it took you 160 hours approximately with some degree of experience to do it. I mean, we can't approximate exactly because then we have like, there's too much to track, but we can get an idea, right? Mm-hmm. So like,
and that's the tangible thing.
So let's hear some more.
Doable.
Like I know they're not perfect, but like it's better than like, oh well, the goalposts are all moving and who knows.
Well, one thing we are kind of circling around here is coming up with tangible points of reference rather than just I'm good, which is too vague, right? Yeah. It's like, it might be something like I've sold my first font that I've made. I've gone full time doing this. But as we're touching on, that is being tied to third parties. And whether it's revenue based, making a sale based, that's in the same sphere as I will be good when I get this many likes on Instagram. And that's really dangerous, I think. I think you need to have this stuff more internalized than that.
Definitely.
Where you just feel confidence growing and feel a style developing. And whilst that is ephemeral and that's not what you're going after, Dustin, in terms of it being super specific, I think it's probably healthier than like I will be happy when I reach this very tangible specific point, because that's always going to be reliant on outside stuff, because it isn't a skill that you just know you can get down. It's always going to be subjectively good, bad, somewhere in between.
Yes.
You know what, Dustin, you're actually inspiring me to, because I have been for a while wanting to literally dedicate like a chunk of time, not at once, but split it up to really better my drawing of hands, because my hand drawing sucks like really bad. And
at what point does it stop sucking though?
But
that's the question.
When I can tell you when, because that's the thing, because Dustin, you want like a tangible end. So for me, the end would be when I'm drawing a character and not have to like get anxiety when it comes to the hand part. When I can freely go.
When all your animals can stop wearing mittens.
Yeah, exactly. When you can like have an open hand, or a girl cupping her hand to do something or holding something without you having to like search the internet, like what is a hand like look like holding whatever. So that's the thing. I want to get to that point where I don't need reference anymore, like my own hand or, a hand from someone else or whatever, where I can actually literally from memory, because I've literally studied it. I'd be keen to do that. So I might actually do that, Dustin. And then I'll tell you how long it takes me.
Dude, I'd be fascinated to hear that.
Okay.
I think a really powerful thing is setting very short-term goals. So if you're going for like a super big thing in the distance, you're going to be miserable. But if it's something you can achieve in the next month, you're going to
Well,
feel great when you
exactly.
tick that off, and then you set the next one, and then you end up reaching the distant goal, but you have little
Yes.
milestones along the way.
Because that was my point earlier. Like, I want to be a better illustrator. Well, that's so vast and so huge. So you almost
Yeah.
have to like break it down and go, okay, I want to be able to draw the human figure better, or I want to be able to draw gesture better, or whatever, and then spend like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks on that. And
I nearly said the first thing that popped in anatomy was like skulls and stuff, because I used to draw a lot of them, and I nearly was like, yeah, so if you just spend a month on head, then that would be that would be fine.
yeah.
That would be a different learning lesson though.
But it's so true. I mean, like, if you think about it, I'm sure we were all obsessed with drawing eyeballs or eyes at one point, right? For some reason. It's weird, but everyone seems to have that thing. Now you can literally draw it from memory because you like practiced it over and over and over. So it's bizarre.
I think when you do the, obviously we spoke about the other day, the other week, where we talked about, obviously the wrong practice can not lead to great,
Results.
keep practicing. The bad practices makes you a really good person at doing bad things.
Yeah.
So, but I think, through through studying, say it's the eyeball, a photo of an eyeball, and you're drawing one, if you have to complete one, put it aside and do another one to be able to understand the sort of nuances that make, because every time you do it and go through the process, you learn something new. And that's what I found with type design, is that you just have to keep making. And every time I do one, I learn something new. So I think a lot of people are scared of doing it because they don't want their first one to be rubbish, or first one not to be amazing or sell really well.
Yeah.
My first one didn't sell very well, but I had to get it out there to sort of break the sort of starting barrier dam that needs to be broken, in terms of starting is the hardest point.
It is.
Once you get started, then you go through the process, then you learn, then you do another one, then you learn, then you do another, and then you learn. So a lot of these things, it's a case of getting to that point where you've finished just one project. And that's enough, because that can also tell you whether, one, you're going to enjoy it and whether you can push you onto doing more hours and learning more about it. Like for me, I think I wish I'd learned how to make a typeface like in my course when I was at college, because I learned so much about typography from it that I think it's really important for other people to learn it as well. There's loads of courses on, both Skillshare and on Lydia and on Udemy about type design, and that's something as a designer to really worthy investment of your time, even just to get to a level. Just make a font, even to just give it away for free. You need to go through that process, because I've got this quote where it says, mistakes are part of the learning process. In fact, they are where the learning takes place.
Yep.
And for me,
100%.
the learning about kerning has taken place in that process of making a font.
I think these projects where you are making something can be much more powerful than just book learning, right? Like you learn through doing. That's such a common thing.
Yeah, so true.
Something I kind of want to try and achieve on this episode, actually. Have you guys seen, like I saw a really bad one the other day, but people are selling almost templates or guides for how to improve your social media. And there was one for Instagram, and it pretty much was like, post something creative would be the top tip, and people were like paying to download this thing. It was like, oh, okay, well now I've got this thing, I know to post something creative. That's really helpful.
That's so random.
I didn't really get it, but good for them if it's helping people. Fantastic. But I love the idea of what we're trying to do here is work out a structure for how to accelerate people's learning and get them to progress. And so, for example, let's imagine this is like a diary, right? You get these motivational diaries where they tell you things to do to improve your mindfulness and stuff like that. It could be once a week. It's learn a new facet to do with the skill you're doing. So if you're learning lettering, it could be that new facet of it could be learning black letter scripting or a different type of calligraphy from what you've been doing, and just dabble in that for half an hour your week, and that will help move the needle forward in terms of your learning. You know what I mean? So can we think of structured things to do that? Like, I know I was a big fan of Chuck Close, the photorealistic painter, when I was growing up, and he did it all with like grid systems where he broke up the painting and copied it really, really well. So if you track that back, your end goal wouldn't be that. Your first goal might be try painting within a grid and copying that. That would be step one, and you probably wouldn't get it that right. And then be able to do it from memory, and then be able to do something else. You know what I mean? It's like, how can you break up the process? Because I do think a lot of the listeners, a lot of the people I interact with on Instagram, they kind of float around.
Yes.
They don't always know how to improve.
And I think the whole thing is that you've got to, I think if you want to accelerate your learning, it is exactly that. It's like you have to have a plan in place. And for me, I can only speak about illustration, like what it took me to get where I am. But it could be different for lettering. It could be different for design. I don't know, but you definitely need that sort of broken up step by step. This week I'm going to do anatomy. Next week I'm going to do colors. Next week I'm going to do whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Is that? Sorry, Dustin. I was just going to say, like, sometimes I can also like dampen your creativity because that sounds so structured and formalized and boring and crappy and all that stuff. But
is it structured if it's like on Friday afternoons? Have fun and create something from your imagination.
You could do that, So, but I think there needs to be a generalist kind of approach to the formula thing, if that makes sense. Where I don't know, for me I would literally like break down something that you want to learn, then review it, break it down, and then you need to review it to make sure you're actually on track. Like, are you really drawing a tree, or do you think you're drawing a tree? And then apply it from memory. That would be like my 3-step thing, like how to do it. But that's pretty vague.
I found like I had the because I was on the beta testing group of Affinity Designer for the iPad. So it's a bit like Procreate, but it's vector based. It's like Photoshop and Illustrator had a baby.
That is cool.
And so, but the thing is, just sitting in the app and just trying to play with it never results in any learning whatsoever. It's when I have I'm going to make this, or I've done a sketch and I'm going to turn this into a vector using just this app, or I'm using some of the brushes and I play around with some of the settings and I want to create a certain brush. I find a tutorial and learn it, or I have some like an image in mind that I want to try and recreate, so that I go through that process and through it, rather than, because there's so vast amount of tools, you're not going to learn them all in one go. I find I only learn as I'm going, so I'd only use them a small amount to get to. So you have this like destination and you go a certain route. You don't see, like, when I'm traveling to London, I don't see the whole of like the Wales and Scotland while I'm going. I just see my journey to London, and that gets me there, and I see the, like, maybe talk about the stations I get to get there, and that's great, and I get familiar with that journey. But then I set myself like, I want to go to Wales, and I take a train journey. It's completely different and it's unfamiliar until I do it a few times. Does that make sense in terms of?
Yeah, no, it does.
Oh,
it does.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it's by doing, and the more I taking that analogy further, the more I travel to different places, like say in the UK, the more familiar I get with all those different journeys. And then I can know that, like, with those people that you say, oh, I need to get to, like, I know, Manchester, and they go, well, you need to go up this road and that road, that road, that road, and you'll get there.
I will never be one of those people.
No, but the only reason those people know it is because they've done that journey a lot themselves and they're familiar. Like the friend who would do that, he was like, did management training and would travel in his car all around these places. And he got familiar with all the different motorways and, roads in between, shortcuts and stuff like that. So, but the more you set yourself, and don't just do one project, like don't do one style in that application, because you only know how to do that, use the tools that get you to that one destination. So you have, like, for me, it was like, okay, I do like a really clean vector piece. That took me one destination. Okay, I'm going to do like a really rough textured piece. That uses a completely different set of tools. And so now I've got these two streams, and I know 10% of the application now. so I have to choose something else to do in it, and then so that's.
This is reminding me of art class, actually, mate, at school, because our teacher would get us to try so many different things, and it makes you more well-rounded. So
Of course.
one week it would be like, oh, we're trying something abstract. The next week we're going for a totally different look. Next week we're trying sculpture. One week we did it where we were blindfolded and we had to look at something, blindfold ourselves, and then try and draw it from memory without seeing what we were drawing. And all these different exercises were not only pretty fun with the variety, but they really got you thinking more laterally and not getting that tunnel vision. And I think that is a really powerful thing. Like in your analogy, you're taking all these different roads, right? It gives you a greater breadth of talent and knowledge. And there's no reason we can't. I'm determined here. I really want to like go away from this episode and try and turn some of the tips into a structure that people can actually work through, where it's like, here's a 10-week plan of 2 or 3 things to do every week that will make you have more fun, try more new stuff, and get better in the process.
Yeah.
Something I've seen that's been really cool, I've noticed a few people do, is they'll turn it into like a real legit event for themselves and sometimes let others take part. So for instance, my friend Rocky Rourke, does amazing cartoon illustrations.
That's a cool name.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who played the wrestler?
No, it's Mickey Rourke. But Rocky Rourke, everyone should check him out. He's really talented. He does these amazing
Is he Slaptastic, isn't he? He does these stickers.
Yes, he did the Slaptastic stickers business. But like, for instance, like he was like doing like a weight loss challenge for himself. So like he got his design skills and he made like little badges for himself. And then each week or day he'd have a theme and he had this cool cartoon badge that he designed that he would give himself for accomplishing it.
Oh, that's cool.
And he does that for all sorts of things in his life, but he makes it something really, really fun. Or Dina Rodriguez, she owns Letter Shop, fantastic lettering artist, has a very unique spin on everything. And she wanted to improve her Instagram. So she like created like the graphics of like this challenge, like a 30-day challenge to get better at Instagram. And every day has a different challenge. And she created little graphics to go with it and you can participate in it. But she's like, I'm doing it for myself as much as for everybody else. I guess the point is like, I was like, wow, it's so neat that they like created the art and like turned it from just a goal in their mind into like a visual little course or book or pathway. You know what I mean?
Workshop or
It makes it so fun.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that totally makes it more fun to do.
I like that stuff. And I think a lot of people are dying for that because, like I say, they're a bit aimless and they lack direction. And everyone likes like Inktober and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether we could compile like a list of 10 things that we've learned now or we think we could do with learning that are like for instance, type design, like making your own font is one of that list. I think every designer should learn. And then another one should be like maybe a simple form of illustration. Because I know I could get better illustration. It's whether I want to invest that time in it. So is there is there something that I maybe regularly try and draw that would be good for like, I don't know. Or
like overall
or being able to.
No, I like it.
Yeah,
so what is something that would be a small time investment, like between 5 and 30 minutes a day? Let's say it's like the 30 days of creativity. I'm sure that's probably already taken, but some kind of challenge like that. You wouldn't like learning a font is intimidating. That would scare the hell out of me, learning all the software and stuff. But you could write a font and be like, this is my font. I'm going to give it a name and draw it on a bit of paper and photograph that on my Instagram. You know what I mean? If I'm like, this is Tom's script and here's my go at it and it looks like shit, but it's funny.
Like, okay, maybe we put links to these things because like I've got that YouTube video where I go through 7 ways of making a font.
Yeah.
One of them is literally just write out every letter on a sheet and you scan it in and the website transfers it straight into a font. So that could be your first font. And that can literally take like half an hour. Or it's just your handwriting and the time it takes to upload it and download it. And it produces a font file. Not a very good one because you can't adjust any, unless you pay for it, you can't adjust any.
Yeah, but you've made a font. How many people can say that?
Are you talking about the one where you print out the sheet and write the letters into each box?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's really
I've done that.
simplistic.
That thing is cool.
Yeah,
it
there
is
you go.
cool.
I didn't
But
even know about
you
that.
could
but
have
yeah.
maybe you could have like, that's level 1. And then you could have like level 2 could be doing something else, and level 3 is actually making it in glyphs. And so you could say, okay, I've done a level 1 of that.
Level
I'll move
2
on
is
to the
font
next
self.
task. Yeah, font self level 2, level 3 glyphs app. So you have each of the tasks, and then you have like, okay, I've completed level 1. I'll come back to level 2 once I've done all the other level 1s.
Let's do it.
And then, yeah, like you say, reward yourself.
Let's do it, Ian.
All right. So let's do a bunch of level 1s for now. But I
Okay.
love the idea of leveling up. So level 1 would be create a font. What's it called? The software?
It's like some weird.
I can't remember. It's on my. Look on my YouTube channel for 7 ways to that. We'll get it. We'll get it.
We'll add it. But create a font using the free software in like 30 minutes. That would be cool. And can you imagine like doing something like this every day? So after 30 days, you're like, I've gone from doing the same thing day in, day out for years and getting no traction to a month later, I've made a font, which most people can't say. I've illustrated a Christmas card, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be great, but to say you've done all that stuff would be amazing. I think it would be like a really inspiring month.
When I did that 100-day drawing challenge, I found that total thing. I'm not a great drawer now, but all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm not so afraid to draw. It's such a good feeling just to know, like the other day I was like, I want to write something, but I want to draw with it. I knew it wouldn't be great, but I also knew that like I'd done 100 of them. I was like, well, if you can do 100 and not like be so humiliated, you want to like dig a hole in the ground, you can draw now and like feel fine about it. And it's been so liberating for me.
How about one of them is draw a self-portrait that exposes personal things about you. So it's not just like a silly cartoon face. You could do like supporting illustrations or symbols around it that kind of show, are you currently like feeling really sad or whatever it might be? Like, have you got a lot of dread hanging over your head, or have you just got a win?
Straight away, the fact you have to draw like self-portrait is like intimidating. So you want to, that's not a level 1, like self-portrait. You want to literally like draw an apple or something, like a simplistic apple or something really like whatever the easiest thing to draw is.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's even like, okay, draw all the different shapes you can think of, and that's...
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say like draw, like take a like, general fruit basket, and I'm not saying draw the fruit basket. I'm saying like identify the basic shapes of each of those fruits. So a pear would be a triangle, an apple would be a circle, because that's actually how you start learning the basics of drawing, is break it down into shapes.
I did a great Skillshare, I think it was Tim Goodman, and he was just like, fill the page with lines. He's like, your only job is to completely fill the page. It's not great, but I was like, whoa, I filled the whole page with stuff.
Okay, I like that.
Didn't have to be good,
page.
like you're saying,
No.
Lisa. It didn't have to be good. It was just
Okay,
pen to
so
paper
we've got
some
3.
way.
Number 2 was identify the basic shapes of an object.
Yeah.
Number 3 was fill the page with lines /
Doodles.
doodles.
Yeah.
Number
That'd be
4,
quite a fun one, and you could do them in like 1 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
These won't take long. Number 4 could be literally write a line of code in whatever. I think it's called Python. One of the codes that they use for all these algorithms and stuff like that, just to say hello or something. You type it in, you run it however that works. We'll try and get the resources for you.
Yeah, I don't even know how to run that. I wouldn't know where to start.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's why. But I was watching a program the other day there's a guy in the UK called Guy Martin who does everything to do with his ex, or I think he still does it, like TT Racer, which is super fast motorbikes on the Isle of Man, going very, very fast. And he likes anything to do with speed and trying to go the fastest he can. And he was looking at the future of self-driving cars. And the person who is like a coder sat down with him, and they made this this learning program. He typed it himself. She was sitting next to him, and it made him his tea based on his emotions, and he was able to write the code for it.
That's crazy.
And I was just thinking, okay, maybe just like, it might be just like I'll figure it out. I'll find something. But
Okay,
just
what if it's not Python? What if it's like HTML or something simpler?
well, yeah, it could be anything. But the thing is, there's I can't remember which the actual language is, but it's quite it's the one that would probably become most useful for the future. So, but I'll find out.
So it would be like there's a template, and you just teach them how to edit a couple of bits.
Yeah, and they just literally write it out themselves, and they like maybe it's just send themselves a message or something like that.
Yeah.
It's real basic level 1 coding.
As long as it holds your hand and it's doable in a few minutes.
Yeah.
That works.
Well, I'll find something. And
It sounds like something that I'm going to get in the future back to myself. Send yourself a message. Sorry. This is foreign to me.
Okay, so what else have we got? Like graphic design, that kind of thing. It's what about do something for your best friend? So it's like design something for them. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that's not. It's like, is that learning though? We're trying to
like in a basic level. Yeah.
Maybe something with colors, like building up from color theory.
What about make up a logo?
Oh, color theory, yeah.
Yes, definitely. What about make up a logo based on your dream business?
But how's that learning though? That's more creative. We're trying to get them learning something they've not done before, because a majority of graphic designers have done a logo. So
you're talking about design fundamentals?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about because like designing your own typeface is something a lot of people haven't done, even though they work with typefaces all the time. So you're thinking of, if someone's doing a logo all the time, what can they learn to bring that to another level?
What about if it was use of negative space or something like that?
How would they learn that?
Well, like the FedEx logo has the arrow.
Yeah, but how would they need to know how to learn? I suppose
it could be like providing them with two things, and it's like intersect these in a way, or I don't know.
You could do subtractive drawing. You could say get a solid color. Maybe this isn't level 1, but get a solid color in Procreate, and by erasing, create something.
An object.
Yeah, create an object by erasing.
You could do that offline as well with just a razor, cover the whole piece of paper with pencil.
You could do that too with a razor on your beard if you have it, or your chest hair.
Yeah.
Are we just describing shaving?
I'm just saying the possibilities are endless.
I just do a D, shave a D into beard.
Or like Austin Kleon does that thing with poetry where he subtractive poetry where he blacks out all the areas to make poems with the words on a page.
Oh, that would be a good one.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. Okay, I like it.
I like that one.
Make a quote from get a newspaper or something that's
cut it out and then
If that's level 1, is level 5 a ransom note?
A creative ransom note. I like that.
You know what's interesting about that though? I was thinking about you, Lisa, and I was thinking, you could have kept your templates for that you sell for making characters. And that could have been a style for life. Like, as I was drawing these guys, I was building this guy out modular so you could put them all together. And I thought the simplest things can make a style for life. Like Austin Kleon, he does a subtractive poetry. He's blacking out letters to make poems. That's all. That is it. Yep. It didn't expand from there. I mean, he just made that his thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought that was inspiring. A little bit.
And he mentions in his book that it's not original. It's like someone else has done it before, and someone else has done it before that.
It was actually, he just made that art form more popular. But yeah, lots of people did that.
Yeah.
What about when I said my teacher made you shut your eyes, look at something, shut your eyes, and try and draw it? That is quite an interesting exercise for learning.
Or that the whole thing of not lifting your hand off the page and not looking at the page.
Yeah,
that's also quite
that's a good one.
Remember that book, Drawing with the Right Side of the Brain? I remember that being one of the big parts was draw something and only look. You could lift the pencil, but
they call it something. I've forgotten the name. You can you can't look until you finish, and you can't lift your hand.
It was so zen. I remember that totally chilling, relaxing me.
It is very It's quite cool. This is hard to come up with all different things for level 1.
Yeah.
Use a different tool. Like learn how
What, like
to
your vegetables? I'm not
Yes.
even joking. Like, yeah, that is.
Yeah, use a different tool.
Or do you mean
Yeah.
like an iPad instead of like something?
It could be use a paintbrush if you always use pens.
Yeah.
Because there's skills that you learn through using a different tool. Like a paintbrush, completely different from using like a fountain pen, or from using a biro, or using a.
Or draw something with an X-Acto knife and construction paper by cutting out the shapes to make the drawing. I mean, like that's so much different. I remember doing that when I was in school, when I took design for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
you have to think totally differently.
Or make a stamp out of potato.
Yeah, I want to
We've
do
been doing
that.
paper craft lately as well, which has been quite a lot of fun, like stop motion paper craft, cutting out
That's
different bits of
cool.
paper and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Okay,
So-
it sounds like we just have to go to like a daycare for a day with our kids.
There should be adult daycare for a day where you can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good. Because you can get an app on your phone, stop motion, make a 10-second stop motion animation. And all it could
Yeah,
be
those are
is
cool.
like an apple moving across a table, or
Those are fun. Love that.
or a flip book. You can make a flip book. Remember?
Oh yeah, I remember those. Oh my word.
And I don't care that some of this stuff is more animation
Oh.
or traditional art than design, because it's so relevant. It's like, look at
Yeah.
how many
Needs to
designers
push
start
you.
on a notebook and get their ideas out on paper.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
of this stuff will get your mind thinking in creative ways.
You know, when I was in Skillshare, I saw someone had a course. It was how to make a zine. It was a professor at Portland State
Yes.
University. There's so much opportunity in that, because that like gets all sorts of things like this. You know, there's no rules. You can photocopy, you can draw by hand, you can
Yeah.
do it on a computer. I mean, whatever. You can fold paper.
Oh,
bookbind.
here's one. Photograph a texture. Most people have never done that, but now that I work with them
And then use it.
every week,
Yeah.
yeah, well, even just like getting the photos. Like earlier, we looked at a post box in town and it had this real thick, like peeling paint. No one ever takes the photos of just the close up of the surface instead of the object. People don't notice these things, but as soon as you do one, you'll start to see it everywhere, like really interesting surfaces.
Can I read a quote that I found while I was trying to write my talk for today at Apple? I'm doing in October.
Yeah.
When we play, we are also free to utilize any play items within our grasp, as well as balls, paper, glue, scissors, pencils, Lego bricks, game boards, pieces. There you go. These are becoming more like creative.
What's that from?
Like, I can't remember. It's a blog post. Play removes the limits that otherwise constrain us to what we currently know to be possible. It's by removing those constraints and opening ourselves to diversity through play that creative insights become the norm of what we're doing. And in my talk, I talk about how on my feed and Instagram mainly and other places is that fact that me experimenting is not, the vegetable clippy doesn't look amazing. What happens is it opens my mind to new creative ideas through using things that don't normally use as tools to letter with.
Yeah.
And I think this is the way some of these things we're doing here, some of them are pure learning, some of them are opening, like Dustin said, using the different parts of your brain to open up new, fresh ideas within learning in terms of our creativity.
Yeah.
Because there might be like the things that have transformed my business or the way I work or my process has not been massive lightning bolt. Wow, that was amazing. It's been tiny, tiny, tiny little things that I've learned through doing things I wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
That's so true.
sometimes you can get in a eureka moment through, doing a flip book. You might suddenly come up with a really good idea, and that could be turned into a product, that could be turned into a service, that could be turned into, an idea for like a social post. And honestly, it's just through these little things that can transform overnight. So it's worth doing. Once we got this list, worth going through all of them. And I'm going to go through all of them because I might pick up something like, those I posted about that electronic paint that my friend gave me to try out.
Yes, looks awesome.
The reason why I was talking about coding is one, obviously websites and stuff like that need coding, but you could code the circuit board that came with that paint to do anything you wanted it to. So for me, I wanted it to be keys, but you can control it. So you could draw a light switch on the wall and you touch the light switch and it will turn the light on or off, or you can make a dimmer switch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just by what's coded into that little tiny, the Raspberry Pi. It's a bit like that. You can just, on my Mac, I was like, okay, I copied, I didn't do it all myself. I found the code and put it onto it. But you can literally write whatever you wanted it to. So you could connect it as to like your kettle, so that when your alarm goes off, and this is something that Mike Boyd did, we were talking about earlier, once his alarm goes off, the kettle in the kitchen or the coffee machine turns on. And then by the time you've had your shower, it's ready and you've got your coffee. So you were like streamlining your process in the morning. But, you have to learn how to do those things.
Yeah.
To be able to work it, because, learn by hand to do that, just those one little things, I think, oh, this is brilliant, and then suddenly you might make a product, like an actual physical product that you could then think, oh, how, I could then market this. So, yeah, I think it's great. These little tiny, it's sort of a mixture of play and learning, and those two actually overlap quite well.
Yeah, and I think it's that whole thing of being curious and trying to figure out.
Dustin's right then.
Yeah.
What?
Just saying about being curious.
Oh yeah.
Because what happens is then you want to know, but why does that work, or why isn't that working? And then you go and search and try and figure it out, and then you learn something else along the way. So yeah, it's
things I know that I'll do if I do all 10, that I'll probably hate doing 8 of them, but there'll be 2 that are like, yeah, I've never tried this before, and actually I quite like it.
Let's put the stuff together. I would say for the people who are worried about messing up their feed that's beautifully consistent, you can do it on your Instagram stories, and then you can save the story to, where you save it on your profile at the top now. So it could be like a little mini series of videos saved to your profile permanently, rather than messing up your feed, or just put it on your feed if you're not that fussed.
Yeah.
But to circle back and kind of wrap things up for today, I think we started off with Dustin in particular looking for like super tangible, when have I made it? How exactly long does it take to get good? And we've invariably gone down this chat of actually having fun with the process of learning and trying and getting better and gaining confidence in that process. I think that's always going to end up being the answer. Like, it would be so boring if for a full hour we're like, okay, so at least 5.87 days in, you will have hit this structured point. Like, that's not how creatives work. As much as it would be nice that we can go, oh, great, I know by then I will have made it. It doesn't work that way. So when you are, you can have frameworks like we're talking about here. You can have kind of organized ways of accelerating your learning, but it is that joy of learning that should be the focus, I think, as opposed to a finite goal.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to, I just have to add, because you guys have always done this and I always didn't want to do it. What's your name, guy? Ian. Ian and Lisa.
Episode 85, ladies and gentlemen.
You definitely have been way too long.
Ian and Lisa, I know you guys do Skillshare a lot, and I was always like, oh, I don't know, Skillshare's kind of dumb. I don't know why I thought that. I don't really think it's dumb, but you know what I mean? Like, I was like, it's not my bag. I just don't want to do that. And then like I started doing it over the past 10 days, like just taking like classes and just doing stuff. How did this person vectorize their artwork, or what was this person's process for doing this or that? And it was just plain. I didn't have any goal in mind. And it, like you're saying, Ian, like some of them were just not interesting, but every so often you'd be like, oh man, like I picked up some ways to do things. And I was like, oh man, why am I not teaching myself stuff more? This like got me so excited. Like all of a sudden other little passageways open. It's really true. Just like doing stuff without any point to it, except for play.
I love that stuff.
The same thing happens on there. It's not the whole course is like the thing that transforms you. It's the little thing that they inside it. Like Draplin's got like three or four big courses in there, and there's just little parts of his process that I've taken on board and have really made my process much quicker than it used to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or you see them do something and you go, wow, why didn't I think of that?
Exactly.
You know? So it's
I was trying to figure out how to do like better looking selections of my pen work in Photoshop, and then like someone was like doing a copy and paste with like a mask to select it, and like I hit like the quick mask tool. I'd never done that. Also, I was like, whoa. A new possibility is open, because normally I would have been like, oh, well, you can't do that because it will have these little white spots and it's too annoying to try to get rid of them in Photoshop. The quick mask thing, all of a sudden now I can do it. The chains have been like cut.
I'm
free.
So yeah, for everyone listening, basically just get out and have some fun with what you're doing. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't worry about that point of when you've made it. Just go learn, enjoy, and you will naturally improve, and you have a better time along the way doing it.
Good last words, Tom.
Well
thanks,
said,
mate.
Tom.
I think that's all from us this week. Dustin and I are going to go have a little guitar jam, and we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that it gave you some motivation to learn a new skill or refine your existing skill set. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com, or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.